ambassadors, thanks for joining us, especially those of you who are in the midst of your spring break. We're really excited to have Ashley Chandler from the Google Sites team here today to talk to you a little bit about Google Sites and let you know some cool ways you can talk about it on campus and share with you guys what your next activity is going to be around Google Sites. So you'll be getting some fun swag in the next few weeks with a suggested activity of how to get more people on campus to understand and use Sites. And you guys, as always, are instrumental in bringing that awareness and usage on campus to life. So with that, we won't take more of your time, and here's Ashley to talk to you guys a little bit more about Google Sites.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to run through this presentation and definitely ask any questions, and we'll make sure to get to them at the end. I think most of you have used Sites, or probably all of you have used Sites. You may know more than what's on this presentation to begin with, but I'll walk through it and let me know. So I'll go through some of the benefits that we see for Sites for students, for university students, and then I'll talk a little bit about some of the ideas we've seen from other students in terms of Sites and some ideas about what you guys can use Sites for at your schools. And then Miriam's going to come back on and tell you the fun part and talk about the activity and what we're going to give you guys. So just a quick introduction, and again, I know you guys all know this, but I think one of the best reasons for using Sites, or a couple of the really good reasons for using Sites are, one, it's a really, really great way to tie everything together. So Sites allows you to put a bunch of different course materials or your calendar for your sorority events or helping to plan things for a fraternity formal, all your resources really in one place. And it also lets you collaborate together across all those resources in one place. It's also something that's really, really easy to make. That's one of the things that we've tried to do with Sites is we know that, websites in general can be intimidating for people. So we try to take a lot of the work out of it and make building a site from scratch really easy. And then recently, probably in November of last year, we launched site templates, which hopefully makes creating sites even easier than creating one from scratch. So just a couple ideas here for types of sites for you guys would be sites for your fraternity, for your sorority, sites to organize intramural sports, your personal portfolio. So we're seeing more and more people, particularly people with creative backgrounds, using Sites for their personal portfolios or their resumes where they can link to work that they've done or designs that they've done, making their resumes a little more interactive. Project sites for school, and then, any other ideas that you guys have, let us know at the end as well. So a couple more benefits. Like I said, sites are really easy to create. It takes just a few minutes to get one up and running, and then you can invite other people to add to it as well. So it's easy to say, okay, I'm going to create the first page of this and then have a page for each team and have somebody own each of those pages. Publishing content is really easy. This is something we've seen outside of universities, but with things like emergency response, when we had the H1N1 virus, we saw a bunch of sites go up instantly with information. So if there's something similar for school, maybe there's an emergency response team at your school or an earthquake response team, this is a really good place to publish information on school events or things happening right now really quickly. They're web-based, as you guys know, so it doesn't require your own computer. You can access these sites from anywhere. You can share them with anyone who has access to the web, which is pretty much anyone. And it's really easy to make your site public or just make them, accessible with the team that you're working on the project with or within your school or within, your particular class. And as with, all of our apps, they're very collaborative, easy to work together to edit your site or put together your website. There's no need for a gatekeeper of information. Everyone always has access to the information. You don't need to check in or check out any information. If you're updating something and someone else is updating it, it'll let you know. But it's really, really easy to work together on that. So again, these are a great option for creating your fraternity or sorority site. Again, this could be something that you guys use internally to organize events or that you could publish to the school, your class project sites, intramurals, and again, resume or personal portfolios. And just to speak to the easy part of this, I think you guys probably all know this, but something I see whenever I teach people how to use Sites is how do I edit this or how do I change things? And I think the best tip I could give is a really, really simple one, which is that all of the buttons you guys need are in the upper right of your site. So once you go to create a new site, whether that's from a template or from scratch, anything you need to do starts with that upper right side of your site. So inserting any information like a map, a photo album, calendars, forms to RSVP to things, presentations, anything like that starts with clicking on the edit page button. From there, you can really bring together anything that you've already created, and Sites recognizes anything in your Google account. So you can bring together your documents, your maps, your calendars, photo albums. Embedding objects is extremely easy. So you click on edit and then you click on insert, and any option you click on the insert menu will show, Picasa or a presentation or spreadsheet. When you click on any of those options, it'll bring up your spreadsheets associated with that account or your calendars. It already recognizes that because it's your Google account, and it'll allow you to pull it in really easily. So I'm going to run through just a couple really good examples of sites that we've seen. And these are things about 6 months ago we asked for ideas from students and teachers on the sites that they've used on campus and what's been really useful for them. And these are some of the ideas that they submitted. And I'll show you in a couple of slides where you can find some of these, and all of them are templates so that you can base your work off of these as well. So the first one is, this site's, again, a really good way to tie together a bunch of different resources. One of the teachers that we know, not at a university but at a high school in New York, planned a really, really large-scale event with people attending in person from across the country and globally online as well. And basically what they did was they created one site for the event, and then they linked to several other sites or several other pages that each presentation was embedded in, or each class included their project on their own website. And it's a really, really good way to just tie in resources from all over the place. So they incorporated probably 50 or 60 different class projects, and each one of those either had a Google presentation, a Google Doc, a video, a class site with a bunch of different information, a really interactive way of working across their entire school, their entire district, and getting a lot of different people involved. And there's links to all of these on the presentation deck, so you guys can look at these yourselves as well. The next one is from University of New Mexico, and I think some of you guys probably have this at your schools as well, but there's a Formula One contest, I think, each year for mechanical engineering students. And I think part of that involves getting some funding and some publicity. So University of Mexico made a site for their Formula One competition, and it's a pretty cool way of doing it. First of all, they incorporated a little thermometer to show how well they had been doing on their funding, and they also published events where they'd be fundraising. But they included a lot of videos. They included slideshows of, up-to-date shots of their car being built piece by piece. They have a calendar of events. They have, team contacts, and a lot of other external sites, as you can see on the left there, pointing to other resources on the contest or on other teams, and their profile on Jay Leno, which you guys might want to look at as well. And then the last one is more of an administrative site, but some of you, particularly some of you in student council or something like that, may want to do something similar to this site, which is basically the homepage, and this is for this school's technology department, but they use the homepage as an announcement board, so you can insert lots of different types of pages into sites, and one of the types of pages is an announcements page, and once you have an announcements page, you can insert an announcements gadget. And again, this all comes from using the edit button and then the insert button, so pretty simple. So you can insert an announcement gadget on any one of your pages. So this is a good way to keep, in this case, teachers up to date on any new event or any updates to the program, as well as keeping them posted on new events on the calendar and different courses that are available in this department. So those are just a couple of the examples of how you can use sites in school or how people already have used sites in schools. But, again, like I was saying before, this is a great way to use sites for fraternities or sororities, for your on-campus groups, so, having a site for student government, for your volunteer group, for a group project. It's always really hard to get together in person to work on group projects. Finding time that everybody can go to the library or the coffee shop at once is tough, particularly during finals. So having a site that really organizes everything, where people can post resources and work together on these things is great. If you're an RA, this is really, really good for dorm management of events, of things going on, of responsibilities within the dorm, of, like I said, kind of emergency contacts or who's on call in other dorms. It's just a really, really good way to organize information. And as some of you probably already use sites and are gone on your spring break, these are also a really good way to plan different events like spring break travel plans, or any other kind of large-scale or more complex events. They're also really good for things like school paper or after-school organizations, or things that are somewhat related to school but a little bit outside of school as well. So, like I said, we introduced towards the end of last year site templates, and I can't play this video right now, but take a look at the video on YouTube. I put a link to it in the presentation. It really walks through the benefits of using templates and how easy they are. How easy it is to control the settings around those templates, how easy it is to get people to work together with you. I do think that creating sites are in general pretty quick and easy to do, but if you start with a template, you kind of start with a calendar, you start with an announcements page. All you have to do is make some changes to make it your data. There's also some really, really good graphics in there that will help make your site much better from a design perspective as well. So these are just some resources. Feel free to click on these links when you get the presentation, but there's the Sites Help Center, which has a lot of information, general information about sites, and also some more advanced resources like webmaster tools and using different URLs and things like that. There's a Getting Started guide in there that walks through the basics of using sites. All of the templates and examples that I referenced before are on our Sites for Teachers page. And every one of those examples on this page is a template as well, so you can feel free to use that yourself and obviously just change the data on it. There's also a guide to creating a class site, which will walk you through creating a site not from a template, but step by step. A guide to creating a project site, and then a guide to creating an administrative site. And these all walk through how easy it is to insert things and how easy it is to embed things, play things from within the site. So, embedding Picasa photo albums and presentations. It's a really good way if you're working on something across a bunch of different groups to collaborate on a doc, for example, and then post the final presentation or things like that. So take a look at some of these resources. They'll probably help get started for those of you who haven't used sites as much as some of the others. And again, I think a lot of you have probably done this, but selecting a template is really easy. There's a lot of options. All you need to do is go to your site, choose Create a New Site. You'll have the option to create a site from scratch, just as you always have, and you'll also have an option to choose from templates. And a lot of times, if you're on apps, you'll have some pre-populated templates, and I think you'll have some either way that are really popular. So there'll be a Project Wiki site, usually a classroom site. There's a family site, a team site, and then to the far right, you'll see that there's a Browse the Gallery for more. And here you can preview any site before you choose it, but you'll see a lot of different types of templates there. And this is just a small example of some of the sites that come up for schools and education, but you'll see that there's a clubs and organizations section, there's a personal and family section, we have a government and nonprofit site, activities and events, business collaboration, and then some featured sites that we found really useful and that some of our users have found really useful as well. So take a look at some of the templates. Even if you don't use them, they're a really good way to get ideas for how to structure your site, how to organize your site, and then just some really cool way to use sites in general. You can also create your own template. So if you're using a site that you think would be useful to others, and particularly if you haven't added a lot of really specific data to it and a lot of text to it, you can publish that site as a template as well. So if you have a site that you use over and over again for student council, or if you're going to use this year's student council site, but you think the next class will want a different site, it's a really good way to make that process of creating the site a lot easier and a lot faster by making it a template. So in order to do this, again, you go to those buttons at the top right of your site, you choose More Actions, and you go to Manage Site. And under Manage Site, there'll pretty much be any tools or resources that you need. And I think anything that didn't fit neatly in any of the categories we started with, we ended up putting under General. So there's a lot more under General than you may think. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the General tab, you'll see the option to publish this site as a template. And publishing the site as a template will mean that anybody who has access to your site will be able to use that site as well. So again, you want to do this before you put really specific data into it, but it's a really good way to skip a lot of steps, and particularly if you're passing on something, a site within your organization, this is a good way to do it. So just a couple more ideas that we think might be good ways to start out with for using sites. If you're a teaching assistant, I think sites would be really good for a school department site. So, TAs can create a site to highlight office hours, to show additional courses and training available, different resources, post the syllabus up there, post any deadlines up there. It's a really good way to publish all information. There's also a course site, again, with exams or forms for signing up for things, forms for signing up for speakers, calendar, notes that may be shared, or any sort of updates. And then, you can always, a great way for using sites in a way that we use them here a lot is for team sites. So if there's a team of anybody, in this case, teacher assistants would be one example, it's a really good way to put everything in one place. So resource sites for all TAs, making sure that all teacher assistants are on the same page for updating scores and grading fairly, planning social and training events, maybe having spreadsheets of all students or working together on some of those things. Site templates, like we've talked about, are also really, really good for student organizations. So student council, as we've mentioned, helping to keep track of upcoming events, embedding election forms and candidate presentations. It's a really good place that if maybe you haven't gotten a chance to see somebody speak live, but we post a YouTube video here. You can post announcements, again, using the announcements page. You can have a form to offer to attend an event or help campaign for somebody. It's just a really good way to tie things together for student council. Again, an intramural sports site, post a calendar of all the upcoming games, have team sign up, keep score sheets, put any announcements, post videos of the game or photo albums of the game or the teams, post pictures of people getting their awards. It's a really good place to put all the information about intramurals. Again, sorority and fraternity sites are really good. Posting the invitation to formals or trying to publicize some of the charity events that people do, fraternities and sororities, posting a calendar of all of your events, a good place to share photo albums from formals. And again, you can make sites public or private. You may want to make that one private. Embed a calendar of chapter locations or chapter events, post a map with chapter locations, include a directory of any of your national members and alumni for any sort of recruiting house or things like that. And then finally, for trip planning, planning a trip for a large group of people or planning any event for a large group of people obviously has a lot of logistics. So we've seen schools use sites to do just this. And a lot of times they'll use sites to plan a lot of the events on the trip and organize the details leading up to the trip, but then they'll also do things like posting videos of the students on the trip while they're there, posting announcements live from the trip. We've seen people do this with DC trips where they're posting video recordings from that day or posting announcements. And this is nice for probably parents who may have paid for that trip or just friends that didn't get to go on the trip and are watching you guys on it. So I'm going to hand it over to Miriam for the activity and swag, and then we can take questions.
Okay, so as Ashley was just talking about, sites are especially useful for groups of students, and so what we thought would be a good activity to get you guys really firsthand kind of working with sites if you haven't already, and to at the same time help others on campus realize the benefits of Google Sites is to actually work directly with a club or a team, at least one, to help them get a site up and running for themselves. So like Ashley mentioned, some of the things that groups and organizations can do with sites that we think are so critical and so helpful are letting other students know about their mission and goals and events and how they can get involved, embedding their shared event calendars, keeping their meeting notes current and viewable, and easily linked to all the crucial things that their group needs, like important photos or docs or blogs and things like that. So Google Sites is really a great way to keep it all together. Most of these organizations might not know about the benefit of sites just like you do, so if you can be the ones to actually work directly with them to encourage them to do it, then that's even better. One of the things that we will be sending to you in the next week or two is more fun swag. Yay! So we're going to send you guys, all of the ambassadors will get special custom Google Sites t-shirts. So nobody else anywhere has these except you guys, so that's kind of fun. And we want to focus on how easy it is to create them, how useful it is to edit them together, and then how simple it is to share. So those are the real key things about Google Sites. So we created shirts for you guys to wear when you're doing your events, and then we also made these awesome Google swap bracelets that have that same logo on them. So you will each be receiving a shipment in the next 2 weeks that has a shirt for you and about 70 to 80 slap bracelets each. And so our expectation is that you can use these two goods to help people learn more about sites. So what we'd like for you guys to do, and we'll send out an email obviously afterwards that has all the steps that you guys will need to take to show us how you did this event and how you got creative, is to work with at least one student group or organization on campus and actually create a site with them. So what we'll send out is actually a form where you can just tell us your name, the group that you work with, and add the URL of the site. And if they don't want to make it public, then you can actually just send us a screenshot, and that's totally fine too. So the goal is to work with at least one group, but obviously the more groups you're able to work with, the better off they'll be, because they'll know how much easier and more useful it is to share all of their information on campus using a site, but also it'll just help you guys learn more about the process of making sites. So outside of just working with a group, we also encourage you to set up a table or a demo station where you can share the training deck. We'll share a version with you that you can use that Ashley just presented to you guys that you can use for students themselves. You can just create a copy of the same deck and go to student organizations or set up a deck or set up a table, or maybe even go to some other kind of event that you might know about and share this deck with other students, and then hand out the slap bracelet. So we estimate that the total amount of time that you need to be spending on these two activities is up to 2 hours, most likely less than that. So yeah, obviously being creative is always what we have you guys strive to be, and you have shown us that you really are. So yeah, can you give the slap bracelets away at other events? Of course. And again, we just want to keep reminding you, we really want to be able to keep sending this swag and these cool activities and spend money on sending this stuff out to you guys, but the way that we're going to be able to do that is to actually show some results of the work that you guys are doing. So if you can take pictures of people with their new slap bracelets, that's great. You each have the links to your photo albums, so adding them there is wonderful. And we also have been tweeting and blogging on the student blog and student Twitter account about some of these, with some of these photos and about some of these events. So, if you come up with a great event, then you could be famous. And also, once you create a site, just a reminder, we'll send you a form, but send us the URL or a screenshot so we can actually see the team that you work with. And with that, now that you have an overview of the product and you have an understanding of the activity, we do have it open for questions. I think it's probably spring break, so there's probably not that many people on the phone right now, but hopefully if you guys do have questions, we don't have any yet, but I can help. So I can do that. So, and use this one. Will or is it now possible to have more options on customizing the URL of a Google Apps website? I know there are more options for standard sites users that I don't see in sites for Google Apps. Do you want me to read it again? Okay. Is it possible to have more options on customizing the URL of a Google Apps website? So as far as I know, the ability within Sites to create a custom URL is really based on the domain that it's coming from. So if it's from within your apps account, it's kind of based on the domain setup that your administration sets up initially. So that's pretty much out of our control. But you can always do create special customized links using third-party services. So you can create shortcut links to your site using one of those. And then, will it be possible to edit the CSS of a Google site in the near future, or in the future, rather?
So this is a question we get a lot, and like I said a couple times during the presentation, we really try to focus on making sites easy to use for anybody instead of complicated, and then we know that then sacrifices some of the design capabilities, but we wanted to make sure that this was a really good tool for everybody. So that was where we started, but we know that CSS and more advanced coding features as well are something that users ask for a lot. So we are going to try and do that. I don't know when we'll get to it, but I know it's something we're looking at for this year. So stay tuned for that. We know it's a very popular feature request.
And to access the site, do we have to log in with your Gmail account? Yes.
Again, all you need so it depends on the settings, right? If you make a site public outside the domain, and again, that depends on your domain settings, but if you were to make your site public to the world, you can access that site as anybody. To edit that site, you're going to need to be invited to the site, whether it's public or just shared with you. You'll need to be invited as a collaborator or potentially an owner, depending on what you want to be able to do. And in that case, you will need a Google account. It doesn't need to be a Gmail account, but it does need to be a Google account. If the site is not public and it's just shared specifically, again, you will need a Google account to edit the site. And you may need, I don't think you need, so if it's shared explicitly, you will need a Google account, I believe, to view it as well. But again, if it's public, anybody can access it. Only those invited and those with the Google account can edit it.
The one exception is if it's within your app domain. Your administrator might have it set up so that public sites can only be viewable within your domain, so you might just want to be aware of that as well. Mm-hmm. It looks like there aren't any more specific questions right now. If you do have one, type quickly. But otherwise, as usual, we'll be making this the recording of the WebEx available on YouTube if you need to reference it again. And then I think we also may be sending out the deck so that you guys can click on the YouTube videos and the different links that we had in there. Otherwise, thanks so much for coming, and hopefully we will see you guys again.
And thanks also for everybody that just sent in examples of their sites as well. That's really cool to see that you guys are already using these, and that's great ideas for templates as well.
Great. Okay, guys, thanks. Bye.